The siren's wail cut through the thick humidity of the Texas night, a lonely sound echoing off the limestone hills of Wise County. Behind the wheel, Lex Love felt the familiar hum of the engine, a vibration that had become part of his own pulse since he first stepped into the jail as an 18-year-old kid. Back then, he was just a local boy with a wide grin and a sense of duty that seemed to outsize his uniform. They called him Big Love, not just for his height, but for the way he carried himself. He was the kind of man who could de-escalate a tense room with a single nod or a well-timed joke. He had spent years learning the rhythm of the county, from the quiet back roads to the bustling squares of Decatur and Bowie. He had been a jailer, a city officer, and finally a deputy. He wasn't just patrolling a beat, he was watching over his neighbors, his friends, and the family he tucked in every night. On this particular night, the radio crackled with urgency. There was trouble on US 287, a bad wreck, lives on the line. Lex didn't hesitate. That was the core of him. When the world was at its worst, he moved toward it. He pushed the cruiser faster, the blur of construction barrels and concrete barriers flickering in his peripheral vision. His mind was already at the scene, thinking of who needed help and how he could provide it. The impact was sudden, a jarring scream of metal and concrete that silenced the siren. In the aftermath, the flashing blue and red lights continued to spin, casting long, rhythmic shadows across the asphalt. His brothers in tan and green were there in minutes, their voices desperate in the dark, calling out for the man who was usually the one providing the strength. In the coffee shops and the porches, people spoke of him not as a statistic, but as a light. They told stories of his Newcomer of the Year award and the way he looked. A few weeks later, as the sun dipped low over the Texas horizon, the community gathered. There were fundraisers in Bowie and silent prayers in Decatur. They didn't just mourn a deputy. They celebrated a man who had spent his entire adult life trying to make his corner of the world a little safer. Lex Love didn't reach the end of a long career, but he left behind a legacy that wouldn't be measured in years, but in the profound, lasting impact of a life lived entirely for others. Love you, nephew.